Well, the show really started next, and talk about good wrestling. I was amazed again. A wrestling match broke out on AEW. Holy shit. Guys wearing gear, locking up, working. It was exciting. Didn't look phony. They looked like grown adults. This show can look major league in spots when they do this. And then they go to commercial and come back, and you're in the middle of cable access in Ottumwa, Iowa. Dax Harwood against Jay Lethal. Now, of course, the drawback to this is that, again, they penalized Dax for being able to outwork everybody on the fucking roster and for being a great worker by having him come in as a member of a tag team and do a job in a single match, which wouldn't be bad. No shame in getting beat by Jay Lethal, or at least there didn't used to be. But Jay's another guy that came in and lost, his first 3 or 4 matches on television? Did the mascot beat him too? Did he do a job to Pockets? I put that out of my mind.
I think so, yeah.
So then what you do is when you mismanage the guy when they first see him, and then you realize what you've done, like Tony has, and he's made a mistake and he wants to push him. Now he starts giving him wins. That means that Dax Harwood and Jay Lethal just had a better wrestling match than anything else on this episode of Dynamite, or probably in the last several weeks. But all it proved was that Dax can't even beat a guy that couldn't beat the company mascot. It doesn't help. It doesn't help Jay. It hurts Dax, because Jay's already fucking buried because he got beat by the goddamn joke wrestler. And everybody else when he first came in. What did he do? Suddenly take a correspondence course in wrestling, and now he can win his matches? There's no plan ahead of time. There's no coherent thought and process going into these guys. He jobs them because he doesn't have room at the time he debuts them, then don't debut them. And then later on, when everybody's going, well, yeah, that guy's great, we ought to do something with him. Then the guy starts winning after he's done a job for every low-level fucking preliminary joke in the company, of which the standout of that is our little dog Pockets, the biggest joke in the history of wrestling. Once he has beaten you, then only the AEW audience that's already there is going to take you seriously, because to everybody else that's ever watched wrestling, you're going to be a piece of shit. A piece of shit that got beat by a joke. That's not the way to start off a push on national television. So having said that, at least they gave us a good match. Hard chop, stiff work, great pace. They broke it up with a break after only 3 minutes in. They could have broken that goddamn dismal, non-ending interview up with a few breaks. I wouldn't have minded. But there was no way to critique this because there was nothing wrong with it. It was back and forth action. You could just enjoy watching 2 actual serious professionals. Dax hit that great slingshot power bomb. The fans were rocking and rolling with it. They react to wrestling. It's not like all they'll cheer for is the joke shit and the fucking glorified lucha shit that all the rest of the trampolinists do. These people will react to wrestling. Everybody does. When they sit and watch it and it's good, you get into it. They don't have enough people that can do it because they chose their roster unwisely. Multiple counters, false finishes. The fans were standing and clapping. And then finally, Jay gets a reverse roll-up. Dax has an out. Jay grabbed the handful of trunks. 1, 2, 3. And there was that match. If that had been Jay's debut in AEW and we had not seen Jay Lethal until he showed up and had that match, then you would take this guy as a main event level talent in this environment. But since he's been there and been beaten, did a job to Pockets, been given Sanjay a manager and the fucking Zippy the Giant Pinhead, and it's been, that don't work. And then they do an interview, and Sanjay announces that, remember, he said that he would give FTR, and I think their buddy, I think the way he phrased it, a 6-man tag, it's not going to be against Lethal and Dutt and Zippy the Giant Pinhead. It's going to be Lethal and Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns. And, of course, Sanjay, maybe he's got so many office duties now that he forgot how to fucking sell a match. But you know what he never did in this? He's talking to Dax. He never mentioned Cash's name nor their partner, who I forgot who it was going to be, because he never mentioned them. He just said, you and your boys. Who's the partner? Is it Wardlow?
Wardlow.
Okay. That was never said by Sanjay Dutt, the person who was revealing that he had screwed the baby faces and was switching their opponents. Now, here's the question. Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, great workers and great talents, got tons of experience. Does anybody remember them? Where have they been the last 5 years or more? Sabin got hurt. He had a couple of bad knees like 10 years ago. And they broke up the team and they were gone for a while. And I mean, now I guess, have they been in Impact? If so, a scant few people know that they're still around. But it was like as Sanjay just says, the Motor City Machine Guns, and the announcers go, ooh, and they do a 20-second video. And I'm sorry, people have been born, given birth, and died themselves since the Motor City Machine Guns first teamed up. Can we not just assume that all these smart fans know exactly who they are and will be jazzed up? Could we not have had better preconditioning as to who the fuck they are? And how long has it been since they've teamed up, and where have they been teaming up? And if it's nowhere but Impact, then that's the same thing as being on the Federal Witness Protection Program. They do 1/10 of the viewers that AEW does. And AEW does, half to 40% or 35% of the viewers WWE does. So how far are we going to get down here? It should have been presented better. What do you think?
It was a really good match, but the way Jay Lethal's been used does turn me off. And quite frankly, again, I said it last time, he could talk. But if you want me to take Jay Lethal seriously, get him away from Sanjay. Sanjay's minor league as a manager. It comes across just minor league.
Yeah.
And Jay Lethal could fucking talk. So why does he need a manager? Why does he need to be a part of a group that does nothing ever?
Because they need 2 of them to have the giant fucking Indian that they can get 10 million YouTube views in India for watching him fart.
You could put that guy
That's
with
the
anyone.
only reason.
Put the giant in the Trust Busters or something. That works just fine. But then FTR, again, they've done nothing to capitalize on any of the momentum these guys had, a couple months ago, coming out of the second Briscoe Brothers match. That's the second time these guys fucking tore the house down, had match of the year with the Briscoes in the same year, and then nothing was done with them right away afterwards. It's amazing.
And both of the matches of the year have not been in AEW.
That's right. The fans reacted to Dax being there. The fans want to see FTR. You have a situation where the fans are now in like the Young Bucks and Omega. They're being given, and look, there are fans who want them. I'm not saying there aren't. But they're being force-fed these things that have been there. And the things that they have chosen and elevated on their own are being put back in the box. AEW is treating FTR like they're fucking Zack Ryder in the WWE a decade ago. And it's bullshit. And the fans want them to be used better. It doesn't just mean go and
Wardlow.
Well, Wardlow too.
And here's the thing. We're not even fans of Wardlow because he's the goddamn best in-ring performer in the history of the fucking business. Like FTR is the best goddamn tag team in wrestling right now. But we're saying Wardlow is an attraction, is a box office attraction that the fans got over, that he registered with them and they decided, okay, we like this fucking guy. And again, as soon as they pull the trigger to switch him babyface, get him away from the yoke of servitude of MJF, then they drop the ball. Then he's diddling around with the Puddin' Gang and fucking power bombing security guards and getting sued by the fake lawyer, and
he
it's all
doesn't feel
gone to
special.
shit.
And he doesn't feel special anymore. Now he's just another guy on the roster who barely ever shows up on TV to defend his title and gets treated like shit when he's on TV. And I'll say this because Tony's a big ECW fan. Book FTR like the Eliminators, not like when Furnace and Crawford showed up in ECW briefly. There's a difference. And what I was going to say before is...
How about book Wardlow like 911?
You know what? That's exactly right. And none of these guys, for whatever reason, coming out of months of these three guys specifically having a ton of momentum, the momentum's been yanked away from FTR, and Wardlow has been held down by the bad booking.
What do you think Heyman could have done with Wardlow?
You know what? We would have seen Wardlow have quick matches week after week to the point where people were demanding it. We wouldn't see him out there having competitive matches with Orange Cassidy weeks into his title run. Even Heyman wouldn't have done that, because Heyman would have run with an Orange Cassidy without any question. Without any question. But he would have used him better. Heyman would have used Orange Cassidy better, I'll say that.
He would have made it a little more palatable.
Yes.
Heyman had no principles. He was not above using a joke to get the fucking point across, but you know, he would have done it better.
There was more logic. Heyman at least had logic to some of his jokes. The logic may have trailed off and never actually had a firm conclusion. Like Beulah being pregnant.
But it was there at the start.
Beulah was pregnant with Tommy's baby, and then she wasn't because she was having a lesbian affair with Kimona Wanalea. Like, that kind of logic may not have made a lot of sense, but Heyman would have done better with FTR. And even though I don't think FTR had the greatest time with Heyman from when we talked to them on the show, remember I asked them who's more full of shit, Heyman or Pritchard? And they had a tough time answering that one. But FTR and Wardlow would have both been used better by Paul Heyman. I don't know why Tony's using this.
And also when Heyman was running his own company, he could pick who he wanted to use. But that's if they didn't have a good experience. Heyman was not going to, in the most recent run that he's had, he's not going to fucking put his foot down and say, no, you got to do this like he would when he was younger. He's just, okay, I'll find somebody else and get them over instead of arguing with you.
And let me just say one last thing, because when it comes to listening to the room, which is the whole big thing now, how could you criticize any of these people? The room like them. Well, what about the room's reaction to FTR? And the fans don't want to just see FTR having great matches or Dax having great singles matches. They want to see them involved in shit. They want to see them involved in shit
and
that
successfully.
matters.